Just make sure that red stop is it. That means it's always recording. Okay? Thanks. Yeah, check that. Okay. Good afternoon. It's good to see you all. All right, welcome to Financial Institutions and Services. My name is Julian Fountain. I'm the lecturer for this course. And, hopefully you will all enjoy it and do phenomenally well and go on to bigger and better things in whichever business that you're working in. Okay? The course is about financial institutions, and we're going to be talking about all kinds of financial institutions, but of course primarily banks, because banks dominate the market for financial institutions in the Bahamas and pretty much everywhere in the world. They're not necessarily the only financial markets, but they do dominate the market. Okay? Now, I'm going to need you to do a little bit of, provide me with a little bit of help. Until I get to know your names, I need you to, hey, Mr. Forbes, I need you to do a name tent for me, so I could read your name from up here without trying to remember it at first. Okay? So take a piece of paper out of your book, print very large, your name on it, and then fold it, borrow a piece of paper if you can, rip a piece of paper off of someone. Perhaps the gentleman behind you, that's too small.
Is this small? You want bigger?
He can have it. Right? So it's got to be big enough so I can see it from here. Okay? And that way I will remember your names as we go through. Some of you I may know, Mr. Forbes I know. I used to work with him at Bank of the Bahamas. So, the rest of you I don't know. And if you tell me your name, I assure you I'm not going to remember it for at least 2 weeks. I want you to stand over here and see if you can see that.
Okay.
You cannot.
I'll use the highlighter over there.
It's not bad. You just have to make it
Smaller?
You have to make it stand up.
Okay. I'll go to the other side.
This way, hold it first, and make it work. And then put a button on it, and you just need your first name.
This my first name? Okay.
If you want your second name, just leave it there in case someone else comes in. Okay? It's gotta stand up, so do a good job. Chantel, excellent job. Easy to read, stands up. Want a magic marker? You can use this. It's not a magic marker, but it works. Ashley. Behind you. Is it gonna stand up? Test. There's supposed to be 12 of you in here today. One is online and another 11 here. We'll have to see if everyone shows up on time or if they show up at all. Okay. Right. I like to start off with a few quotes every once in a while. It's a mistake to think that once you're done with school, you never need to learn anything new. And that's a quote by Sofia Loren, who was an Italian actress in the 50s and 60s, right? Very famous, 60s, 70s, very famous Italian actress. And the reason I like this is because, you know, once you finish high school, you know, that's it. If you're fortunate enough to go to college and you go to college, you don't want to see the inside of a classroom again. Most people don't want to see the inside of the classroom again. But we continue to learn, and as bankers, if most of you are bankers, what happens is you end up going on short courses and you end up having to learn stuff, new stuff all the time, because banks have changed so much. If you've been in a bank 10, 12 years, you've seen a lot of changes in the bank from when you first started out. Okay? This one, right? This man used to go to school with his dog, then they were separated, his dog graduated. The dog graduated because he kept coming back to school. Right? In other words, the persistence paid off for the dog. Now, Henny Youngman is a famous Jewish vaudeville comedian, right? Well before all our times, but you know, it still is the same thing. If you keep with it and you put the effort in, you will get there, right? And I'm a big believer in not effort, but work. The bank doesn't pay you to come to work, it's for effort, right? You agree? If you work in a bank, right, and you show up and you said, I made a great effort to get here at 9 o'clock, right, and it's 9:15, your manager or your supervisor says, so what? Right? We pay you to be here from 9 o'clock until 5. And we pay you not to give your effort, right, but to do the job. And so learn the job quickly and do it. It's just the real world. There's nothing nasty about it or anything. Sooner or later you run into that in any organization that you work in. So it's important that you have that persistence. If you want to get this education, you want to move forward, you need that persistence. Okay? I am a career banker. I've never worked, after college, I have never worked anywhere else except in a bank, 9 to 5. I started off with Bank of London in Montreal, which used to be around the corner by the Central Bank on King and George Street, which is an offshore bank. It became Lloyd's Bank, right? And I was with them for 7 years. And then I came back to Nassau and I worked with Barclays Bank, right, for 18 years. Barclays and First Caribbean for 18 years. And then I went to Butterfield Bank. After Barclays became First Caribbean Bank, I was there for about a year. And they were offering these really nice packages, and I thought I'd get a change of pace. So I took the package. Of course, the money ain't last as long as you think it was gonna last, but that's all right. And I went back into the offshore banks, and I worked in Butterfield Bank, Bahamas Limited, and I was running their private banking and credit operations. And then I joined Bank of the Bahamas up until the end of June, right? And I was made redundant, right? Which is a blessing for the bank and for me, because I was getting a little fed up with it. But I'm happy. I consider myself on pre-retirement leave, because I'm not 65 yet, but I'm close. So I'm no longer at Bank of the Bahamas, and full time. I sit at home and I do things, right? I have a long, long honey-do list from my wife. Very nice lady. Okay. There is very little in a bank that I have not done. Very little in a bank I have not done. The only thing I've never done in a bank is trust, right? Okay, never did trust. Okay. I have a master's in business administration in corporate finance and international business from McGill University, Montreal, Canada. I have a Bachelor of Commerce, Honors Economics from Concordia University. When I was there, it became Concordia. The school I went to was Loyola Montreal, which was a Jesuit school. And within the time I was there, they became Concordia University. So my degree says Concordia University. Okay? Little housekeeping. Are you in the correct class? Are you sure you're here? You're supposed to be in 315 multinational financial institutions and services. Yeah? I don't want you to say, I'm not sure and so forth. If you're not, check with Ms. Lee, make sure you're in the right class so you don't waste your time. Okay? I will try and send you my notes, and I stress these are my notes, right? Coming out of the chapters and coming out of some of the readings that we'll do, okay? But most of them will come from this book, which we're gonna talk about in a minute, and I will send them to you electronically. I'm going to take that listing that you've given me and create a class list with it, so I can send you the stuff. I'll try and send it to you by Friday evening, so you'll have it over the weekend. Okay? If you don't get it, it ain't the end of the world. It really, really works well when you pick up the book and read the chapter. Come in. How you doing?
Really good.
Good. Okay. Can't remember his name, but you will have him put to do where we're on. You're still good with Bank of the Bahamas still?
Nope.
No? Okay. I need you to do 10 so I can remember your name, please. Okay? Alright. My office hours are really straightforward. I'm here usually by 5:30, okay? And I will be here until, as long as someone wants to talk to me after class. Hello?
Financial services?
Okay? Yeah? Could you sit in the back, please, or somewhere else, not there, that's all, just that, you can sit anywhere you wish, just not there, because it'll disturb that laptop, okay? So, what you've got is, so after class, I'll be here as long as long as you all want me to be here, or someone asks me a question, it's not a problem for me, okay? Right. If you have a question for me, you can send me emails, but you're better off to send your emails to Ms. Dean if there's anything to do about class hours, anything to do with, well, I can't make the class, I wasn't available, whatever. Route them to Ms. Dean and she will get them to me, okay? Because I'm not going to stop whatever it is I'm not doing or doing while I lounge around, you know, okay, on pre-retirement leave, to tell you to stop and respond to your emails, okay? Alright, so, you know, I can't make it, I have a test coming up, it's Monday, the test is on Thursday, send Ms. Dean an email, we'll try and figure out a way to assist you because we understand that you're working, okay? But don't send it to me and say, well, I sent it to you and you never responded, because I may not even be on the island, okay? If I miss a class, something's happened that I cannot make the class, then I will try and make up that thing for you, right? As best I can, right? I know that you have other classes. Please don't sit there. Could you just sit anywhere else? So I know you have other classes, so that if you have other classes, we can do it Saturday or Sunday or whatever. We'll try and make it up. I tend not to miss many classes, okay? Because I change everything around to be available while I'm doing this course, okay? But it could happen, okay? So, if you miss a class, if you miss a test, right? And you don't talk to Ms. Dean prior, okay? There is no makeup class. There is no makeup test because everybody else was here, okay? Make sense? Okay? That's the textbook, okay, that you need. That's it. Okay? Now, you do not have to go out and buy a brand new textbook. You do not have to buy anything. If you can beg, borrow, or steal one, that's great. I have no problems with that. Okay? If you get an older edition, an earlier edition, I don't mind. Okay? If you get it as a PDF, I don't mind, okay? But it is difficult to do this course without the textbook, okay? Without the textbook, yeah? So, my suggestion is try and find a used textbook or an old textbook, an older edition or something like that. If you get a newer edition, even better, okay? I'm sure Amazon has it, used books, that's the way you want to go. There are lots of people that have taken this course before. It may be available at, so if you, I don't know how you do it these days, but if you can find out online if someone has it and wants to sell it, go ahead. Okay? Yeah? Okay. we're gonna, most of the work in the class is really going to be up to you in the sense that the readings, I'm gonna assign you the chapters to read. We're not gonna read absolutely every page in this textbook. Some of it is a little too much economics, right, for this class. Some of it doesn't apply to us because it's about the United States primarily, okay? And we'll substitute more Bahamian information in there, okay? But the bulk of it is here. The questions will come, and the types of questions will come from here, right? And we go forward from there, okay? Yep. You expect me to be organized. Generally speaking, I am, right? Some days I slip up, like I forget something, but generally speaking, I'm pretty organized. It's the result of being a banker for a long time, right? Everything in its place and a place for everything, right? Especially if you're doing cash, right? Do not screw up cash, right? And don't be in central treasury or treasury and screw it up. That's even worse. Okay. Well, I've come up through operations. I've done lots of operations. I've done lots of credit. I've done credit cards. I've done some human resources. I've done credit courses. I've taught some courses. You know, you name it. Okay? So, if you're not organized, okay, it's on you. It ain't on me. It's on you. But I will be organized. Okay? You expect me to be well versed in the subject matter. Pretty much. As I said, I have a bachelor's degree in economics, and part of this course is in economics, and I have a master's degree in international finance and business. Right? I've been a corporate banker. Right? I've been involved in capital markets. Right? I've been involved with syndicated loans. I've been involved with personal loans, credit cards, operations. I've run a branch, so I pretty much know a lot about banking and the services that banks and financial institutions do. If I don't, I'll tell you I don't. We go from there. Okay? Okay. And if you expect something other than what I'm delivering, please make yourself known. If you don't want to say it in class, say it before or after the class. That's not a problem. Okay? I'm happy for anybody to say, Mr. Fountain, listen, this thing, can we talk about this? I have no problems. Okay? Now, I expect you, and I'm dead serious, you need to be a little up to date on what's happening in the Bahamas. That means you should read the newspaper, listen to the news, or watch the news. You don't have to sit there and read it word for word, every page, every word on the newspaper. But you need to have some kind of local content that tells you a little bit about what's happening in the Bahamas. Okay? How many of you all read the papers today? Any paper, any newspaper. Not even the Punch?
I would read the headline. I mean,
That's fine. So you read the headlines. What was the headlines? You read it. That's fine. I don't have a problem if you read it on your phone or your mobile. I just want you to say you've read some of it. Okay? Okay? Yeah? Because some of the things that are happening have an impact on what you're doing in this class. And it's good if you can relate the two of them. Right? It helps you to remember. It also gets you to see the real world application of some of the stuff that we're looking at. Yeah? Okay? This is not class in a vacuum. Okay? You're working. You go to work every day, you come home, you're tired, and you pay your money and you come here. Right? And if I just give you everything out of this book, that's fine, you'll all go away. But if I can give you something that will help you to see and appreciate what's happening in Nassau and in the Bahamas, hopefully that will help you in your careers and whatever it is that you're looking to achieve. Okay? But you can't do it if you don't have some appreciation of what's going on. Okay? You don't have to read the newspaper every day, but you should at least hear the news, even if it's just on the way to work in the morning in the car. Yeah, say so. Okay? Okay? Yeah, you should hear at least that. Okay? I'll give you an example of what I mean. I saw an article today in the business section where the guy from the Chamber of Commerce is saying that the Minister of Finance on the budget should have consulted with the private sector, right? Because they have placed too much of the government's budget on the revenue to receive from the gaming houses. Okay? That was in the paper. Now, he's making his point, okay. Let me ask you all a simple question, okay? Right? Why did the government put 12.5% VAT on us? Why did they raise the VAT rate?
From my understanding, it's because of all the poor financial decisions of previous administrations that they have to make up for.
Okay? Yeah, you could say that, but let's take out the poor financial decisions. Let's just say the present state of the finances.
Yes.
National debt.
National debt, the national deficit. Chantel?
International bodies.
Yeah? Which ones? The ones that were still in the sky or like around? Which international? There were some people in international bodies that said some things that we had to take into consideration. The big one was the rating agencies that downgraded the bonds. Okay? Yeah? Alright? So you say, well, so what? You know, it's gone to 12.5%, there's nothing I can do. Absolutely, there's not a thing you can do about it, except vote for another government, if that's what you choose to do. Okay? But, having done that, that they put it in, it has now had an impact on us, has it not? How has it impacted us?
It's shrinking.
What's shrinking?
The dollar.
I never seen a dollar shrink in my life.
Buy
My dollar coin
Buy
is
a
just shrink.
dollar.
My dollar coin is shrink.
I understand that. Okay, that's the other thing in the class, right? When you talk amongst ourselves, we can talk and say my dollar shrink and so forth. But if you try to use that language outside of your friends and your group, that's difficult. Because that expression may be known to Bahamians but not to somebody else. Okay? So your purchasing power, your buying power has shrunk. Okay? By how much?
7.5%.
Pretty much. Okay? Yeah? Pretty much. Anybody got a raise lately? Has an impact on you, right? Has an impact on us, okay? That's economics. We're just seeing it from a different perspective than the textbook, right? We're not looking at it from the top down, we're looking at it from us right here. They put this in because they said that their poor financial decisions, their financial condition was a mess. So they needed to increase revenue, okay? How many of you are personal lenders, ever lend money in your life? Okay. One of the first things you calculate is what?
EDS.
EDS, what's that?
Debt service ratio.
The debt service ratio, what does that mean?
How much money you can, which leeway you have basically after you take out all of your expenses versus what you actually make, your income.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Kind
Sorta, kind of. All you know is if it ain't over, if it's under 45, I can't do it.
No.
Alright? Okay. So, it has an impact, right?
Yeah.
It has an impact. Because your cost of living went up. And the debt service ratio standard ain't going up, it's staying at
No, it's
45.
staying the
It
same.
actually should be less than 45. It should be 40. But anyway, you see what I mean? Okay? So it's all related when it comes to these things, and the more you can relate it to what you're doing in your job, or what you're seeing in your environment in the Bahamas or in Nassau, better for you. Helps it stay in your head. Okay? Okay. I expect you to participate in the class sessions. I could talk all day, all night, but it's a lot easier if someone else participates and I have a conversation with them. So I will pick on you, Monique. Yes, I will. I'll pick on Ramon, DeAndre, Garnett, Ashley, Viton, Chantel, and What happened to her? Like, see, now you know I'm gonna pick on her. She's a Commonwealth Bank.
Oh,
Oh,
the zero.
Latira. Okay. Pass that back to who hasn't signed it.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, please print your email addresses so I can read it. Okay? Right, this is what everybody loves, right? Final exam is 40%, your quizzes are 30%, your midterm assignment is 15, and the project is 15. Now let me give you a little hint, okay? Make an A by doing well here, okay? Pass the course by doing these well. That's 60%, right? Okay? You get 6 tests, right? But only 5 count. Okay? The lowest one is dumped. If you do not take a test, you get 0. Okay? Sometimes, you have to travel, so you couldn't make it, so forth, so you could dump that test. So try to make your marks here, here, and here. The midterm is an assignment. You take it home. You have a week to do it and bring it back. The project, it's an individual project, no group project. So you get it, right? And you have start and end dates, and you produce it. I do not want a project with fancy binding and you went out and spent $2 or $5 to get a beautiful binder and so forth. I want content. So, right? All you need to do is print it all up, right? Print the cover sheet, staple it together, boom, that's it. I don't need, Chantel, hold up your black binder there for a minute. I don't need nothing like that. None. I don't need no plastic things and so forth. I hate plastic because it only end up in the Bahamas waters, and I hate that when I go fishing. I don't want to see no plastic, and it's there. Believe me, it is there. Okay? So, just give me the paper, staple it together, make sure you got all the information on it. Yeah? Okay. Same thing with the project and the midterm assignment. The quizzes are approximately every 2 weeks. Okay? Approximately every 2 weeks. Okay? They're at the end of the class. We don't do it at 6 because nobody's be here at 6. Right? So we go from 8 until 8:30. Now the course goes from 6 until 9, but because we don't take a break, we get out at 8:30. So the test will go from 8 to 8:30. Okay? There are no multiple choice. You have to write your answers. That means I have to read every word you write. That means that you have to make sense when you write it. Right? You don't have to have the best handwriting in the world. It helps, but it isn't necessary. Just don't write that squiggly stuff that I need a magnifying glass to go look at. Okay? That's simple because it's just as easier to read it. Okay? But there's no multiple choice. It is all written. Okay? You have to be able to express yourself, and you have to use the language, right, in which we talk about in the book, in the articles that you may read, and so forth. That's why shrinking your dollar amount is not a good term to use. You could talk when you're having a beer with your friends or a cup of coffee with your friends. That could work. Okay? Make sense? Okay. At the completion of the course, students should be able to appraise the importance of the financial system to the macroeconomy. And the Bahamas, right? The largest private sector employers are the hotel or the tourism business and the financial services business. Okay? So this is big. Okay? The majority of the middle class in this country over the past 40 years or 50 years have come out of this financial services industry. Yeah? Okay. Differentiate the various types of financial institutions. Name a financial institution, Garnett. Am I pronouncing that
Commercial
right?
bank.
Okay. Piton, another one.
Private bank.
A private bank? What's a private bank?
Private bank is a
Bank that's privately owned?
one. Well, no, it could be publicly owned too, but it is in under or registered under the central bank.
Is that so?
Wrong word.
Yep.
Mm,
Try another financial institution, not a bank.
what about those fast loan places? I don't know the correct terminology.
It's okay, one of those fast loan places. We'll live with that for the moment. Chantel?
What about insurance companies?
Absolutely. Letitia?
Latira.
Latira?
I'd say like the credit unions and stuff.
Yeah. Credit unions? Monique?
I'm not sure. I'm
I-
going on with it. I
Don't
say
make
like
excuses
cash and
before you say anything.
Pardon?
Just say what you gotta say. Don't make excuses before you say anything. Just say what you gotta say.
Cash and gold.
Okay, that's similar to what he's talking about. But we'll live with that for the moment. Ramon? No. You're on your own. Ashley, what do you think? DeAndre, while the two of them think.
Wealth management companies, commercial banks, sorry, just one.
Yeah, wealth management companies, sure. You and you,
Trust company.
trust company. And you work in a bank?
That's already being called.
So, how about pension funds? They have a lot of money. Does Bank of the Bahamas have a pension fund?
Yes.
Do you contribute to it?
Yes.
Do you contribute on a monthly basis, what, $50?
I also know.
Really? You don't know what kind of funds?
I know.
Oh.
I know.
You went really good there. Obviously, you know. How much you think you contribute every month to RBC's pension?
Every 2 weeks, I contribute $75.
$75. And so let's
So
assume
some
that they,
months.
let's say they contribute another $75. So we'll call it $150 for the month, right? Times 10, right? Okay, 1,500. Okay, 1,500. How many years have you been working there?
Going on 11 years.
Sorry,
Going on 11 years.
11 years. So multiply that. Just make it easy by 10. That's $15,000 that she has contributed, right? And her employer has contributed. Okay. How many people work at Royal Bank of Canada approximately?
Approximately maybe 700.
700 times 15,000 a year over 11 years. Think they have a lot of money pension funds? What do you think, Vanette? Yeah. Yeah, and that's only Royal. Bank of the Bahamas, Scotia Bank, First Caribbean, Commonwealth Bank, they all have pension funds. Okay, you understand? That's a lot of money. Okay? Everybody missed the biggest one. Who's the biggest player in the room? Who's the biggest financial institution in this country?
Commercial banks.
Commercial banks as a group are the biggest. What's the biggest individual one? Who? No, not even close. Be a star, Connor. Come on. Okay, let me give you a hint. Every working person, just lose a little bit every payday. National insurance. National insurance. They take some out. We don't even like them, and they take the money out. You ever try get anything from them? It's a hassle. So these are different financial institutions in the Bahamas. Okay? Analyze the role of government agencies in regulation of the financial system and provision of specialized financial services. Who regulates commercial banks in the Bahamas?
Central bank.
Who regulates offshore banks in the Bahamas? We don't.
Central bank.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
There ain't no bank in this country without them saying yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay? Yeah? Right? Who regulates the pension funds? Who regulates credit unions? Who regulates insurance companies? insurance companies, insurance
Is it
commission.
Yeah.
Securities commission does all the publicly traded and all the broker deals. Insurance commission, do you understand? So every every player or group of players, they're gonna be regulated, okay? Yeah? Provision of specialized financial services, straightforward, okay? Very straightforward. Leno, Vanguard Capital Markets, Royal Fidelity. Discuss the various services offered by financial institutions and their impact on the financial system. That's very straightforward. Who works in a bank here? There's two of y'all work in a bank, or y'all just don't want to put your hand up? That's three. Four.
Used to.
No. That's a bank. Mortgage corp. It's not really a bank, but it's close.
It's not like in the casino.
It ain't a casino either.
No.
Okay. Alright, so what do you guys do in the bank? Discuss the various services by financial and their impact on the financial system. What do you do in the bank? What does a bank do? The tier.
Like profit protection orders.
Oh, I like that part a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But what do they
That's the
do?
bottom line. Offer financial services, loans,
Okay.
credit facilities.
Let's get even more fundamental than that. Okay. What do they do? Guess. Can I put money in a bank?
Mhm.
Okay. Do banks bill anything? Do they manufacture anything? Okay. Do they sell anything like inventory, like books or anything like that? No?
Services.
They sell services and they sell money, right? Where do they get the money from? Oh, from you, and you, all of y'all, and me. So they put the money, you put the money there, okay? And then you do what? They turn around and they do something with it. They lend it out and they make money. Okay, right? Does that have an impact on the financial system in the Bahamas? Of course. Of course. Because it's not just us. How many customers in Bank of the Bahamas have a savings account? How many have checking accounts? All that money is going in there. So it's going to have an impact. Because it's big. If it was just me running my little ASU, it wasn't going to make a difference. These guys are big. They have a lot of money. Okay? Financial system in and its role in the macro economy, right? No money, no financial system, you don't have much of an economy. Okay? Ever been to an island in the Bahamas that they don't have a bank? Anybody ever been to an island in the Bahamas where there is no bank? Well, you know there are islands in the Bahamas where there are no banks, right? Down south, there ain't none in there going up, Auckland's or Crooked Island. They ain't got but 50 people down there anyhow, but none in Ragged Island. You're from Ragged Island?
From Long Island.
You're from Long Island,
I used to
okay.
work till RBC and left that 2 years ago and they closed earlier this year. So they have Scotia Bank, but they only operate 2 days out of the week and they only offer particular services.
So there's no financial services offered by a bank in some of our islands. May or may not be a problem, but I'll tell you one thing, it certainly has an impact on this, doesn't it? Because that money ain't getting into the system, is it? They gotta find a way to do it. It may not come through a bank, so who's doing it? That's what they say. History, development, and importance of financial services in ancient times, Europe and USA. We won't do too much of this. This is not a real topic, but it'll be something that we'll talk about as we go through. Properties and functions of money, the advent of modern banking, history of financial services sector in the Bahamas. We'll do a little bit more of that, but that's only one lecture. Okay, so it's not go back to ancient times when we used to use cowrie shells and so forth like that. Okay. Money and its importance in the economy is something that we do need to do, the money supply and monetary policy. Now, have any of y'all ever done any economics courses about monetary policy? Just put your pinky finger up so no one else will see if you did. Nobody. Nobody. Okay, no economics courses at all.
Oh,
I
one.
I heard it before, but I haven't read it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. A long time.
That's like regulations, right?
No, it isn't. An overview of money and capital markets. Okay, what's a capital market? What's a money market? Okay, that's all right. Alright, their functions in the financial system, how financial institutions use the money and capital markets. Yeah? Okay, first you need to know the definition of those two before you could go on, right? So we'll do some of that. And the case for government-owned financial institution. What's the name of government-owned financial institution, Chantel? Where do you work again? Who owns Mortgage Corp? Okay, name another one. Monique. Just look at your paycheck. What comes out of your paycheck? Think about it. National insurance. National insurance. They owned by the government. That's why we get mad with them, right? Because they take the money and they don't give it to us when we're supposed to get it. Okay. Regulations and supervision of the financial services sector. The role of the central bank. Other regulatory bodies such as the Securities Commission, which in our case would be the Commission, the Securities Exchange. Federal Reserve System's Insurance Commission of the Bahamas, special services of the financial institutions, past, present, future. This we do a little bit of, okay, but it's more thinking about how banking and financial institutions will change. One of the biggest changes in financial institution is always going to be as a result of technology. That is my cheap phone my son made me buy from him. Yeah. Anyway, this, right, is changing the Bank of the Bahamas. So it's changing changing banking services and how they're delivered more than anything else in the world right now. Okay? Now, how can we say that? Let's use an example. Okay? How many of you all have ever ordered something off of Amazon? Put your hand up. Be proud. More than once. Plenty times. All the time.
Just yesterday.
Yes. How'd you pay for it?
Card.
Which card? What's a card?
A prepaid MasterCard.
Prepaid credit card. Not a debit card.
No, prepaid debit card.
Prepaid debit card.
Yeah. So you put your own money on it. It isn't.
So you don't have a bank account?
I do, but I don't have.
You have a prepaid debit card.
Yeah.
By definition, that cannot exist.
I just was gonna
Prepaid
say,
card.
A prepaid
It's just a
card.
prepaid card.
You put your money on it and you can use it online.
It has no access to your savings accounts or anything. It's just
Right.
I buy the card, I load it with $20 and I have $20 to use.
What's on the face of the card?
It's MasterCard.
Yeah.
So it's MasterCard.
A prepaid MasterCard. Yeah.
So it's a prepaid master debit card. So it's not linked to your account and so
No.
forth. And who sells these?
Commonwealth Bank. But when I got it, they didn't have the Visa debit yet. They just got that.
Yeah.
So I had to pick that one up.
Some of our banks have them.
We have gift cards too.
That's good.
Some of our
That's
banks
impressed.
have the debit cards that are linked directly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you bought something online, used a prepaid debit card, right? Branded by Visa, okay?
MasterCard.
MasterCard, sorry, and everything worked.
Yeah.
You didn't need a bank. You bought it from a bank, but you could just as easily have bought it from me on the street. If I could load the card,
Yeah.
if I could give you a prepaid Visa, MasterCard, if I had the license, I could do that. You don't need a bank. Whoa. Whoa. Put some pressure on banks, eh? It's possible. Why do you have a prepaid Visa, prepaid MasterCard debit card?
Because it's pretty convenient.
What was that? So, things change. The technology allows you to do that. technology forces more changes in banking than anything else, not even the legislation, the technology. And there are basically two types of banking markets in this country, in every country. People who bank and use bank and people who don't, for whatever reason. Okay? But those people that don't, they still have money too. Okay. Okay. Management of financial institutions, in particular commercial banks, other financial institutions, credit unions, savings, loans, all the rest of these that you all said earlier. Okay? And we should be done pretty soon. Captive insurer, the banking society. Now, we do a little bit of this depending on how the course is going. In previous courses, I never seem to get to this section, but basically, a banker is a member of society. Okay? Now, how you want your society to run? If the bankers are only in it for profit, which they are, right? But they have to show, at least make it look like they're trying to do something to help the community, you know? So Commonwealth Bank is throw out a little buck here. Bank in Bahamas is go work the Red Cross Fair. Scotia Bank is throw out some money, Royal, you know, do something. Yeah? But it's important. Okay? And it's also important because you have to appreciate that without the customers, the savers putting that money in, the bank ain't gonna exist. It can't work. Okay? So they have to be treated reasonably fairly and show that they're part of the community. Okay? That's what we're talking about there. Okay. Careers, a little bit. Importance of technology, we won't talk about that, but you will see it in the conversations that we're having. We just had that example with a MasterCard prepaid, a prepaid MasterCard debit card. I was involved in credit cards for a while and never heard of that. Okay, but hey,
It's just
it
like
works.
EOB's Visa.
It's not one card,
One's-
that card though.
See,
It's just a
Is it-
prepaid card.
there's
It's
a
a
difference.
prepaid card.
It can't say
Prepaid
that
card.
because it ain't tapping into your account, so it's
Right.
just a
Well, let's
Right.
take out the word debit.
Yeah.
But what you're saying makes perfect sense, and all of y'all, and it's correct. But you have a limited idea of how that started, how we got credit cards in this country. Okay, so you're using the product, right, that has been that is available to you, that is most convenient for you, which is phenomenally good. Not the product, but someone recognized in an institution that product could serve people and they could sell it. Because they ain't doing it for free, eh?
No.
Not for free. Okay? Okay, and the last one is what is the future of banking? And so we begin. Now, I'm going to do another slide in a minute and we'll start the lectures. But first, I have to ask you all some questions, like, tell me a little bit about yourselves. So we're going to start with Monique down in the back hiding next to her bottle of Coke. You know Coke is not good for you. Too much sugar and too much acid. But whatever, it's nice. I drink it. Especially with rum.
It goes that way.
So, Monique, tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name is Monique Curtis. I'm employed at Cryptic Banking Trust. I've been there for the past 10 years as a filing clerk. The reason why I'm here is to get my diploma so to get a commission.
You want to move ahead? Good for you. I know somebody who works out there, Miss Seymour, Human Resources.
Yes, sir.
My name is Martina Knowles.
You're from Knowles, Long Island? Oh, okay. I just guessed because I never even, that's like Hannah Hill and Grand Bahama.
No, I'm from Mango Fresh.
Oh, right. Yes.
We
Okay.
all
I have no
the
idea
same
where they
last
all
name.
live. I have no idea where all of this is. I just know it's Long Island. They got a place called Knowles. Go ahead.
I have a 5-year-old son. I worked at RBC for 5 years, mostly in cash operations. I went to Commonwealth Bank 2 years ago, and I currently hold a supervisory role, so I'm new to that part of it.
In cash? Still in cash?
Cash, yeah.
Okay. Great. You like it?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Long hours and cash. Chantel.
Michelle Johnson. I work at Bahamas Market Corporation for the past 11 years. I started as an assistant to the financial controller. Now I'm just working in the finance department.
Okay. What do you do in the finance department?
Mostly back end entries
Back
and
end.
entries.
Okay. Do you do any reports? Prepare any reports? No? Okay. You, Tom?
My name is Baton Dane. I have a long history with banking, and I'm glad to be out. I used to work I used to work at First Caribbean. Then Commonwealth Bank, I worked there for 6 years as a teller, then foreign exchange teller, then data processor. Last role made me really hate banking. Went to BOB, started off as a teller, then CSR, hated it there, 'cause the system never works.
Come in.
And then I recently got hired at the Bahama, working in the casino as a slot supervisor, and I really like it there.
Great.
Yeah, I don't have to.
So you're doing banking courses because you're in Bama, or you just figured, let me finish this?
A little bit of both. I feel like if I were to stay in banking, I'd have to do something in compliance because I don't really like people. Despite me working in the casino, dealing with drunk people, I mean, it's a fun time, but I like to investigate things and try to figure out why things are wrong. So
You like working by yourself?
yeah, I really do.
There's lots of places for you in the financial services.
Yeah.
There's a ton of places. Audit,
That's where I want to go.
Yeah, that's
Audit
what
and
I'm trying to get to.
compliance, but
compliance. Compliance is very important and it'll be good, and that's where everybody's looking for people. But
yeah.
audit, you learn a lot more than in compliance. Connect?
Okay.
My name is Garnet Hall. I work at the Madison Place Pharmacy.
At the,
The Madison Place Pharmacy.
okay. And what do you do there?
Cashier.
Okay. And you're doing a course for bankers? Good for you.
That's in a job.
Why
And
not?
the bills are paid.
So do I. Okay. Ashley? Makes sense to me. Ashley?
Good night. My name is Ashley Florian. I work at CIBC Trust in the Operation and Finance Department, Batting Clerk. I came to BIF to further my education and to get a promotion.
I like that promotion part.
Mhm.
You can't do it without the education. Mr. Forbes?
Hi, my name is Shimon Forbes. I'm currently at Bank of Bahamas. I work heavily in cash. I've been in banking for about 14 years. I'm doing this course because I want to add some new skills and some people behind my name and help me move up. I'm not out of cash. I'm not out of cash.
Good for you. I'm just tired of seeing all that money.
I'm used to it. That's all.
I mean, granted, I still can't escape because when we gotta pay out jackpots, I gotta count it.
DeAndre?
Oh, that's good cash comments. Like great cash comments.
My
Good job,
name
good
is
job.
T.
Oh, sorry.
Andrea Sumner. I work at RBC. I've been there for going on 11 years. I did most of my banking career in litigation. Got bored of it, so I came out of it going. I'm now in loans. I've been there about a year now. I have decided to take this course because I've done most of the courses for the financial diploma at COB at the time, was RBC. And I figured it's time that I finish something. And so,
You need to
so that's why I'm here to finish.
What were you doing in litigation?
Litigation, I was the litigation officer, so I recovered money on behalf of the bank. So
Debt
I
collector.
Yeah,
No.
You used to send them letters to people, tell them, give me the money or you're gonna sell your house.
Me, I had the attorneys send
Well, you-
writs
it was
and
the job, why-
summonses.
you
I
didn't
did
know
I
this?
did the end of it. So I did no calling of clients. So when you see my name, that means the bank have exhausted everything with you. So I was the litigation officer. I went to court for the bank, the
Must have
lower
been
court
interesting.
and the
Yeah.
Supreme Court. It was very interesting, but it just became monotonous and very boring for me. So I did something else. I felt like I've already got to where I needed to be in that role.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
That was fun.
Okay,
That
we
was
have a
good.
diverse class. Okay. So, first a few quotes. Keep your eye on the prize. One of my favorites.
I think that's gonna be my quote for the year.
Yeah? Keep your eye on the prize. Ashley? Keep your eye on the prize. What is it that you want to do? Okay? For tomorrow belongs to the people who prepare for it today. It's an African proverb, and it applies to all of us in this room because we are preparing by getting a slightly better education than we have in a field that we're interested in to do something in the future. Okay? Right? And sometimes we forget that. Right? We get children, boyfriend, husband, girlfriends, enemies, friends, the priests, right? People in the church, the people over the side of the road, everybody. Sometimes they distract us from this. Right? Keep your eye on the prize. Okay? If you prepare, you got a chance. If you don't prepare, you have no chance. Right? Okay? So, after this, I usually say, do the work. Read the chapters, right? Okay? Okay? Ask questions, put some effort into it, put some time into it. If you slide by, I got no problems with that at all. Okay? Right? You don't have to get an A in this class, you just need to pass. I'm happy for you to pass. But if you want to get something out of this class, you have to put something into it so that you can achieve what you want and what you want and what you want. It don't happen no other way. Okay? And I am dead serious about that. I don't mind if and so that's up to you. And the final thing I say after that is I say, it is on you, not me. It's on you. Right? Come to class. Class starts at 6. If you get here at 6:30, not a problem. Have a seat. Right? If you have to leave at 8 o'clock, not a problem. Have a seat. If you miss a test, not a problem. Have a seat. Okay? It's on you. Right? It's on you. For you to get anything out of any class you're doing after work, boy, that is hard. And you spending your money, put your time and effort into what it is you want to achieve. Keep your eye on the prize and prepare. Simple as that. And it's easy enough for me to say, okay? But nobody's really listening, but it's all right. I said it. I feel better now. Okay? So, we start. History, development, and importance of financial services in ancient times Europe. Okay? Now, first, we have to ask ourselves, how did this all start? Okay? We started out with just barter. And if you think about it, if I was bartering this book for something, right? I wanted that cup of coffee, right? I was bartering for this. How do you know that this is worth the same as that? It doesn't really matter, so long as he's prepared to accept the book for the coffee and we have an exchange. But if I have a bunch of books, can you imagine how heavy that would be just walking around Bay Street trying to get a cup of coffee or beer? Can you imagine I'm in the bar room trying to get rum and I'm trying to exchange my book for the rum? Some idiot ain't gonna want to do it. That can just make me mad. Okay? But that's barter. That's exchange. What happens is, right, I have to have something that he wants and he has to have something that I want. And if I don't find that individual, it becomes extremely difficult for that to do an exchange. It also makes it very difficult for you to have any sort of specialization. Okay? Make sense? Okay? Now, let's put this in perspective. You all remember them clapboard houses your grandmother used to live in? Or your great-grandmother used to live in? Or you living in? Well, I live in a clapboard house at one time, my grandmother's house. Okay? You know what was great about them? Okay? No matter what, you could have fixed them up yourself. You didn't have to be a really good carpenter to fix some of them. You could have go there with a crowbar, yuck that piece of wood out, find with nails, straighten it out, and just drip it in there. And everything would work. Okay? You did not have to be a specialist, right, to keep the house up. Right? And the people who use those type of houses in the Bahamas, right, were people who were used to doing all sorts of building trades. They may not be carpenters or masons, they might have been fishermen, they could have been farmers, right? They could have been working for the government, but they knew how to do this because that was how things were done then. Nowadays, if you have a wooden house and you want to go try to fix it, how many of y'all could do it yourself? And I don't mean the heavy stuff, I mean just change one little piece of wood out. I may be able to do it. How about y'all? That's two. Three. Yeah, you want four.
Not even anything.
I would you.
YouTube helps a lot.
Sorry?
YouTube. So I can do it. I can find a YouTube video.
What are you talking about YouTube? I agree, I use YouTube as well, but my point here is, we are not generalists anymore.
No.
We're specialists. Specialization requires that you have a medium of exchange, which we call money. Now this is just a simplified version of it, you understand? But it's so you can understand it, okay? We have to do these exchanges because, right? If I was a farmer and I was growing a little bit of everything, right? And I spent most of my time out in the field doing these things, I wouldn't get much fish, would I? Okay? So how am I gonna get the fish? Well, my brother is a fisherman, he can help me out. Or I can give him some potatoes, some sweet potatoes, and he can give me a couple of fish. Right? You understand?
Yeah.
So exchange can work, but the more people that are involved in the exchange, the harder it becomes. Because we all need to find that one person who has something that we want. Okay? Now, money eliminates that. That medium of exchange. You understand what I mean? It's a medium of exchange. It allows you to say, I can give you this money in exchange for that coffee, because you've got a value on there, and this exchange can now take place, and the money is valuable to you. Okay? Okay? Now, if you think of places in the Bahamas where there is no banking services, right? You still see a lot of that. We don't call it this, but it's still there. Okay? If you go to Crooked Island, yes, they have cash, right? And so forth. Yes, they can buy stuff, but it's not as valuable to them, right, as the product itself. You understand? Because they can't get no interest on it. Okay? Unless somebody else has got a little shop that they can turn around and send the money, it's not there. So what they're doing is what we used to do 100 years ago or 70 years ago. We did everything ourselves. We did a little bit of everything. They had a little plot where they could grow some stuff. They had a little boat to get some fish. Right? When it was crab season, you get some crab. You do this and you do that. Yeah? But the majority of us don't live that way anymore. Okay? So money facilitates that. Cash money facilitates that. It facilitates that. Now, if you can imagine in the little Bahamas, we had that problem. Just imagine in places like Europe, the UK, and the United States, where there are millions of people, or hundreds of thousands of people. You understand? So money came about through that way. Okay? Now, again, this is simplified. It's just to give you a little idea of what is there. To give you one last example, in West Africa, they used to use cowrie shells as money. Cowrie shells, little shells like that, right? And so many cowrie shells was worth this and so forth. So you ended up with these big sacks of cowrie shells, right? To go buy stuff or do stuff. Impractical, eh? Impractical. So money evolved as well. It wasn't just going to become the US dollar, the Bahamian dollar that we know now. It was other things as well. Okay? And then the advent of modern banking, history of the Bahamas. Okay, now how many of you all have gotten or have seen where you need this, these readings from about the Bahamian economy? It's a book that the Institute has, right? Or just looking at you all, no, none of you all have even heard or seen it. Okay. In there is an article by Pauline Allen-Dean, who used to be with Barclays Bank and was the former managing director of Bank of the Bahamas, right? About the history of banking, right, in the Bahamas. Okay, and there's some other articles in there as well. Okay. So we have barter economies, properties and functions of money. What are the functions or what are the properties of money? Cash, a Bahamian dollar bill. It has to hold its value, right? Okay. It has to be portable. Durable, yeah. Portable, durable, recognizable. No clue, right? You use it every day. You're a cashier. No? Durable, portable. It has to be a medium of exchange, universally accepted in this geographical area called the Bahamas. If people didn't accept it, you couldn't use it, right? Okay? It's portable. I can put it in my wallet and hide it from all the rest of y'all. Ain't nothing in there, by the way. Okay? You could do that. Okay? These are the characteristics of money. Okay? Right? You don't need to be too concerned about this, but you need to understand that money didn't come about just like that. Okay? If it was gold coins, can you imagine gold coins in my pocket? You know, like, you know, when I was really having big money and I have like, you know, $10,000 in gold coins, my God, my pockets would break. Right? Can you imagine going to go count those gold coins in the bank, in the vault? Come on. You know? Man, can you imagine when someone came in there with their little pliers and clip a piece off of that gold coin? It happened, right? It used to happen when coins were made out of silver and gold. You clip a little piece off, pretty large, pretty soon you got a lot of little pieces. Then you melt them down and you're good to go. You ever heard something called a piece of eight? It's a coin that they used to use in the pirates' times. The coin started out like this, but people would clip it off. So forth. That's why they call it pieces of eight. Okay? So money evolved. Okay? And it must still have these characteristics. Nowadays, right, how many of y'all actually travel to Miami with like $1,500 cash on you? I haven't traveled with that much cash in almost 5 years. Probably even longer than that. Right? You rent a car and everybody know you gotta rent a car. You're in trouble. Come in.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
My apologies.
No problem. Have a seat, just not at that chair there, please. You can sit. You have to share.
Okay.
Okay? Just push the table. Push the table forward. Okay? Please tell her you need that. So, we don't carry cash like that anymore. What we use now are credit cards or debit cards. Okay? Yeah? And unless you are not using the financial system, right? It's almost impossible. It's not impossible. It is very difficult to operate without a credit card or debit card of some sort. Royal Bank of Canada said, right, we really, really don't want you coming in here and cashing checks if you don't have an account with us. And if you have an account with us, we want you to use the ATM. Or we want you to use electronic banking. Okay? That means that you are not going to be using much cash. That means you don't need to have as many people handling the cash. Okay? Now we're being cynical. We think they just do it because they don't like us, they're getting rid of us, they want to leave. Yeah, whatever. But the point is, you have migrated from using a lot of cash to using a lot of what? Digital currency. It's not really even currency, it's the same currency. But the way it is presented to you is not as cash anymore, but as these charges on your statement for your credit card or your debit card. Okay? Alright? It's changing. Okay? So the functions don't change. The properties don't change. Okay? But the way you use it and not use it, the way you handle it is changing. Okay? Yeah? And the technology is allowing you to do this. How many of you have grandparents or older parents that like they won't go and stand up in the bank line? They want to go to the bank. And then they used to have the little passbook, they keep the passbook in here, and when they get there, they pull it out, right? And then there's a man got in the back pocket here. I've been through all of that, okay? You look at them and you shake your head, like, what they doing? Okay? They refuse to change. The technology has changed so much, but the function is still there, isn't it? It's still money. You can still buy stuff with it. You can still save it. It's still holding its value. It's even more durable because it's only entries on the ledger moving from one person to the next, right? Yeah? Okay. Okay. So we have money and its importance to the economy. Money supply and money supply and monetary policy. Now, money is all over the place, okay? It's in different locations. So let's think about where money is, right? Okay. Shut down. Where do you have some money? You have cash in your purse. That's one. You're done. Where do you have some money? You can't say cash in your wallet.
Cash in my pocket.
Okay. After that,
On my bank account.
bank account.
Savings.
Okay. Savings.
Like you said, that's the pension funds and stuff.
Yes, but let's stick with cash money, your money, right? You have it in the pension fund. I know that, but what I'm saying is that you have it in a bank account. You have it in your pension fund account. You have it anywhere else.
Credit union.
Credit union, yeah. Anywhere else. Plastic.
I mean, man.
Your money, yours. Not the business. Plastic, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Your MasterCard, your credit card, your debit card, right? Okay. All right. Now, the money in your wallet and in your purse, okay, is money in circulation, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Hand come, hand go. Good. That's money in circulation. Okay? Yeah? Right? The money in the banks, in the credit union, in the pension funds, right? Wherever you have it in an account, is that in circulation as well? Okay, it is. Okay? So all of that is considered to be what?
Money supply.
Okay? So money supply. Now, because we got to be smart and look smart, we got to break that down into all kinds of little fiddly things and so forth. But basically, it's all the money in circulation, right, and the money that's in the bank accounts or financial institutions. Okay? Yeah? Okay? That's the money supply. Is that a big number?
Yes.
Big number. It's a big number. Is it an even bigger number in the United States? 3 billion times bigger. Okay? Monetary policy, right, is any type of policy that affects the money supply. Okay? If the money supply is 10 billion and you could make it 9 billion by doing something, that would be considered what? Monetary policy. Okay, now, we can't do it, right? Us as individuals can't do it, but who could do it? Who could do this?
The central bank.
The central bank. Because they can control what? How much money goes out in circulation, right? After you get all your old bills in the bank, what do? Send them to the central bank, right? And you get new bills or whatever, okay? The central bank is also the people that are regulating the financial institutions, banks in particular, and credit unions, okay? Yeah? So monetary policy is changes to the money supply. If you change the money supply, yeah, does it have an impact on the economy? Of course. Less money circulating, what can happen? Prices can go up. Shortage, so prices go up. Too much money circulating, that's what is supposed to happen anyhow. Ain't going down in Bahamas yet, right? Okay. So money supply and monetary policy, general principles. Okay? So you need to read this chapter, chapter 1 for the next class. Okay? And You're gonna need to read that, okay? Because we're gonna be talking about this in more detail. Okay? Financial Markets and Institutions, Chapter 1, Jeff Maduro, textbook. Okay? Everybody good? And we're gonna be talking about money, its importance in the economy, and the money supply and monetary policy. Okay? And an assigned reading of money and capital markets. Now, okay. So we got this money in circulation, we got this money in the bank, right? We know that if we affect the money supply, it's gonna have an impact on the economy, okay? And we know that if we do that, we call that monetary policy. But something happens with banks, with not banks, financial institutions. They do something that other people don't do, okay? They take the money from all the savers over here and lend it to all the borrowers over here. Okay? Now that's pretty fundamental when you think about it. If these four people, right, put all their savings into the bank, right, and I'm the banker, and I turn around and lend it to you all, okay? I'll make a little bit of money. You'll get to use the money to do what you want to do, right, within reason, and they'll get a little bit of money from me. Now, here's the couple of critical things. Where am I as the banker? Savers are here. I love this role. What am I doing? Look good.
We're doing exchange.
Yeah, all of that. But the simplest thing to say is, I'm in the middle. See, I got them on this side, and I got y'all on that side, and you don't know them, and they don't know you, but you all know me. I love it. I can't lose, eh? That's why it's nice to be a banker, isn't it? You can't lose. You take your money and lend it to them. Then when they pay me back, I take a little bit of that and give some to you. Only thing I gotta do is make sure they pay me back. Right? And if I make a bad loan, such as some institutions I worked for previously, it could be a little difficult getting that money back. Or if economic conditions change, it could be a little difficult getting that money back. But in theory, this is a pretty good position to be in, right in the middle. Yeah, I got it sweet. I love that job. That's why I was a banker for so long. I loved it. Okay? So you're taking the money from here and over here. Now another way to look at it is, I am an intermediary as the banker, right? The money is coming from here, going through me, over there. Now, I gotta add some value for this. I can't just do this right so, because everybody will do it, right?
Right.
What is the value that I add? I add some interest to them on that side. I also give them exceptionally good record keeping and administration. I give you security, you know your money's safe, right? You put it with me, it ain't going in the rock hole. You see my big building, everything good, right? Remember them Bank of Nova Scotia, not Bank of Nova Scotia, Royal Bank main branch on Bay Street? That's a nice looking building there. Solid. Rain will move it, hurricane never touch it. Right? Go in there, looks good. Right? When you look at that, you say your money's safe. Because when my grandmother used to go to the Royal Bank account and put her money in, she looked around to see if anybody could check her when she put her money, that has to be safe. Correct? If it's safe, right, that's a value I'm adding for you. I also do something else for you. I make it available to you when you need it. Not even when you need it, when you want it. So you could come in once my door is open, knock on my door and say, I want my monies. And I would give it to you. So now you know it's safe. You can get it anytime you want, and you can get some interest. So I have to add some value. Okay? These are basic things. On this side, I have to add some value. I can lend to all of them, but I know Ramon, you got a flake. I hear about him before. I ain't lending him no money, right? Because he had a bad reputation, so he out. So I can only lend it to the two for them. Okay? Them two got steady job, right? I can lend to them. This one, she in the hotel business. Davina's in the hotel business and she working 3 days a week. I ain't sure if I want to really land it out. And my good friend Deandra is a customs officer and she relying on all her overtime. I could live with that. You understand? The value that I'm adding is that I understand credit and I know my customers. Okay? So I can lend them and hopefully get my money back. Okay? I give them some other benefits as well. They're borrowing from a reputable organization and I'm gonna be here. Okay? The terms and conditions are reasonable as far as they're concerned. Okay? And I'm convenient for them to get to me to put money back in the bank to pay it off. Do you understand? Now these are basic concepts. The same banking as we know it today where you gotta go knock on the door asking people to put their money in the bank and so forth, and you going out there have a target to make so many personal loans and so forth. That's a different thing. This is the fundamental role that the bank plays in the economy. Yeah? Make sense? Okay? Okay? You're amazed you knew all of this stuff before, eh? Yeah. All it is just slightly more elaborate theory. What you have now is this bank being in the middle. Well, if I'm a bank, I can do that. Where else can I do this? I can do this if I am a credit union. I take the savings, right? Lend it there. Only difference is I can only deal with members of the credit union. Okay? If I'm an insurance company, am I doing the same thing? Okay? I take the money in, but instead of it being an account, what is it? They buy a policy. So I take their premium and I turn around and I lend it out to people. Okay? Same principle. Okay? If I'm a pension fund, NIB, I take all the little bits and pieces in, I turn around, I have to invest it somewhere so I could get it to be able to pay them back. Okay? Right? That is called financial intermediation. Okay? Very simplistic way of looking at it, but the bank and these financial institutions are financial intermediaries. They allow money to circulate, right, in the economy. Okay? Make sense? Alright? Now, if I have this money circulating in the economy, I now have to find some place to put it. I can't lend it all out, right? Let's say I have 100% of my deposits. I say, I want to be prudent. I'm not going to lend out all. I'm going to just lend out 80%. But I can't even find 80%. What do I do with this money?
Hold it in safe deposit.
I can hold it in a safe deposit. You know what a rock hole is? Do you know what the expression rock hole? You know when you're walking around outside, you know, to see the hole in the ground? It's a rock hole. A safety deposit box is like a rock hole. If I put it in there, I can't do nothing with it, right? But it's okay for now, right? You can just throw it in there. What else could I do with it?
Invest.
Great idea. I could invest it in this market or that market. Yeah? Okay? Now, if I'm going to invest it, what exactly can I invest it in? Well, the simplest way is to just give it to another bank. Because if I'm Royal and they're Scotia and so forth, right? I can lend the money to them, right? Yeah. I could even lend it to Bahamas Mortgage Corporation, but I trust them. That's government owned. I am not lending them my money. Okay? Who else can I lend it to? I could lend it to credit unions. I could, but I don't like them. Okay? We're all financial institutions in the middle here, right? Who can I lend this money to or invest this money with?
Other customers.
Other customers, of course, right? But I know I'm gonna get the best return lending to these people here, but I can't find no one else to lend to. So I can lend it to another bank, a credit union, an insurance company, right? A pension fund, whoever wants it, okay? Whoever wants it. But I gotta feel good about them too, right? Can't just lend it to them, right? So, could I invest it in stocks or bonds? I could maybe do that. Okay? Alright? So, if I were to do that, I would be going through these two markets. You understand? I would be going through these two markets. And that's the critical thing. Okay? I can lend to my own customers, right? But it's too much, okay? And some of my customers, some people don't want to borrow from the bank, or some people have such large amounts that they want to borrow it. It's better for them to borrow it in the form of stocks and bonds. You follow what I mean? Okay? So I could do that. Everybody good? So what have we just talked about? What we call financial intermediation. Okay? Banks and financial institutions are in the middle. They are in between, right? The savers, what we call the surplus units, and the borrowers, which we call the deficit units. A surplus unit is somebody who has more money than they spend, right? Okay? Like all of y'all, right? Wake up, Conrad.
I am.
Okay. A deficit unit is like me. I need to borrow money from y'all because I spend in more than I bring in. Okay? Now, everybody is either a deficit or a surplus unit at some point, but not necessarily always the same one. Right? When you ain't working, you're a deficit unit because you ain't got no money coming in and you got bills to pay. Right? So you borrowing from your mother, your father, your auntie, your uncle. Okay? If you're a college student, sometimes you do that as well. Other times you're working like them lawyers and them doctors and they're making so much money they ain't know what to do with it. Right? Yeah? So they're a surplus unit. Okay? So the surplus units would be on this side, the savers, the depositors into the bank, the depositors into the various financial institutions, right? Okay? And the deficit units would be on this side. But the deficit units are not just individuals, they will also be Kellys, right? Because they need to borrow money too, right? Okay? Our homes, yeah? Right? Name another one. Just think of your customers. Organizations or companies that are customers of your banks. Okay. The government. Who else? Super Value. Where are you working at? The medicine place. Nassau Motors. Right? The guy who's selling used cars. The Coca-Cola company. Right? The collect guys. I don't like collect, okay? Collect guys. Right? Burns House, the 700 liquor stores. Anybody who needs to borrow, right? And borrow does not mean that it's coming from a bank, just borrow, right? Will be over here and their deficit units. Anybody, any individual, any company, any organization that has surplus funds are going to be on this side, the surplus units or the depositors and the savers, okay? And the banks are facilitating that transfer. The financial intermediaries of these various organizations are facilitating that transfer. Okay? Now, let's use an example. Okay? Right? How many of y'all want to buy a house or have a house? You want to buy one? Have one. Okay. You paying a mortgage? Why?
So it's rough finding the bill.
You ain't got it.
I have it.
You ain't got it. Okay? Same thing? That's what I had. That's why I got it. I had a mortgage. Thank God I paid that off. Right? But, right, when I had the mortgage, okay, I needed the money to get a house. I didn't buy the land, now I gotta go build a house. Okay? I was working, but when it come time to pay them guy to do it, to come and build and all the rest of that, my monthly salary wasn't enough to cover that, right, for the next 5-7 months, however long it was going to take. So I borrowed the money. I was a deficit unit. Okay? No problem. It works. Okay? I paid off my mortgage, right? For a while, I was working and I paid off my mortgage, so I was more of a surplus unit. So I could put more money in the bank because I didn't have that large bill on them other place. Then I had my children, I was sending them to college. Thank God I didn't have to borrow no money from them. I was able to save that up. But some people borrow some money to do that. Okay? No matter how you cut it, right? Your role as a borrower, right, and as a saver, as a deficit unit or a surplus unit can change over your lifetime depending on what you want to do. There's nothing wrong with it at all. Okay? And you go to whoever can supply you with the funds at that time. Okay? So you go to the bank. If I was in a credit union, I'd go to the credit union when I wanted my mortgage, right? But now, if I am Kelly's and I want to go and expand my business, right? I don't necessarily have to do what? Go to a bank. I could go to the pension funds, can't I? Okay? If I'm the government, right? I could do what? I could issue bonds, couldn't I? Yeah? It's still borrowing, but I'm not borrowing it from the financial institution. I'm going through the capital market. Okay? Everybody good? Okay. I'm going to turn this light on, right? Before all you all fall asleep in this darkened place. That's a little better, I think. Yeah, you can read it. Yeah, you fall asleep in the dark like that. Okay? Now, somebody explain to me how deficit and surplus units work. Be bold. Davina.
Deficits are the persons who need to borrow money,
Yeah.
and the surplus are the ones that have more money that they need.
Not need.
Have.
They have more money than they have spent. And when you say need, it makes it sound as if they're super people. They just, they're spending less than they have. Okay? But that's okay. You got it right. Okay. Right? And fundamentally, what do banks or financial institutions do when it comes to deficit units and surplus units?
Yeah, that's the middle.
Yeah, because
They have the financial intermediation where they lend
They have
money
to-
to customers.
I mean, you have to go through the bank.
you don't have to do anything. The only thing you got to
Okay.
do is pay taxes and die. That's the only thing you
You
have
don't
to
have
do.
to, but I was like when you say they have to, that's the middle person. Okay.
Yeah, but we don't use the term middle person, right? We just say financial. What did she say? Intermediaries.
Okay.
Right. That's for us in here, because be smart. We can figure that all out. Okay. So, okay. All right. What's monetary policy? Monique, using the back there, catching a nice little nod. What's monetary policy? Okay. Ask your neighbor.
You said it's any factor that has a large impact on the supply of money in the economy.
Right. Okay. We're gonna refine that, but for right now, that's great. Okay? Right? So, Ashley, name me two financial institutions. Name me two financial intermediaries. Besides me. Because, I was in the
You have the bank, let's see. Insurance?
Beat on.
So, you mind repeating the question? I was writing.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's alright. Right? Name a financial intermediary in the Bahamas. Specifically. Name one.
I don't know.
Hold on.
Like the Bahamas?
Bank of the Bahamas. Let's go with that one.
Name a specific pension fund in the Bahamas.
C5.
Pension fund managers, pension funds. They manage the money. So that's it.
Colina.
Okay. Colina is the same thing.
Oh,
National Insurance. Okay? Yeah, name a government-owned financial institution. NIB? Okay. You need to read this. This is the readings in banking and finance, these volumes, okay, talking about banking roots, a history of the central bank in the Bahamas, and an overview of money and capital markets. These are readings. Do not take pictures in my class, okay? Do not. I will send you this out, my notes, and so forth. If you want to write it down, it's better. Taking pictures is the worst thing you can do. Because, right, you think you've got it all, but you have not done anything to put it in here, and so forth. All you've done is taken the picture and have the image. And you say, well, that's the technology. Doesn't matter. Your brain got to absorb that and understand it and go from there. Okay?
The readings that you mentioned from those extra books,
Steve.
dear. She only mentioned one book, and she told me that's not her yet.
This?
Yeah, that's the only one she mentioned.
Okay. Like I said, this is the textbook. I don't mind how you get it.
Right. She didn't mention the other one. I don't know if they have those ones.
But that's not a book, that's it. That's some stuff that was done by people in the Bahamas. Okay. It's a series of readings and stuff. And we use, at the beginning of the class, we use a lot of that. The first part of the class, we use a lot of it. Because it helps to tell you more about what's happening, about the structure of the Bahamas. Okay?
Miss Dan mentioned that as well.
She should. Okay? And again, if you can get a used copy from somebody, I have no problems. Okay? I want you to spend your money right, so. Okay? Okay? Everybody good? Okay. We are getting there. All right. These classes are long. This is one of my funny ones. I like this one. People always ask me, were you funny as a child? Well, no, I was an accountant. I don't like accountants too much. That's why. Ellen DeGeneres. The time has come, the walrus said, to talk of many things, of shoes and ships and sealing wax, of cabbages and kings. Lewis Carroll, Alice Through the Looking Glass.
No.
No? Alice in Wonderland?
Yeah.
Not Alice Through the Looking Glass. Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. It's a novel.
Family writers.
Hmm? Who said no?
The novel?
And you said no and you didn't know, you haven't read it?
I only watched the movie.
Okay. We're going to be a little bit more detailed now. When you read the chapter in the book, you read the other stuff, this will start to make a little more sense. So don't get too crazy if you don't quite follow exactly what's going on. Okay? Describe the types of financial markets that facilitate the flow of funds. Now, we talked about capital markets and money markets. Well, actually, there's only one financial market, but we split it into two, and we call them the money market and the capital market. By definition, a money market is a market where financial instruments trade with a maturity of less than 1 year. Okay? By definition, right? Money markets are where financial instruments trade that have a maturity of less than 1 year. So, capital markets are where financial instruments trade that are for a maturity of greater than 1 year. Okay? So, let us have an example of a money market instrument. Barnett, be a star. Tell me a financial instrument that has a maturity of less than 1 year. And I know you know it.
I know it's over there.
You can't just remember it right now. Ask your partner. Gotta get the right partner when you're sitting there. Okay, draw the lifeline.
A check.
Yep. You know what a fixed deposit is? What's a fixed deposit? You said you didn't know it now. I didn't pick on you. You said you knew it.
The fixed deposit is, like when you, what, like, make a deposit, you decide not to touch it for a certain amount of time, over a year.
Okay. You're almost there. Fixed deposit is when you commit to putting a certain sum of money into an account at the bank for a fixed term. Fixed term deposit. Fixed term. The term is usually 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 180, everything up to 1 year. You hardly ever get fixed deposits greater than 1 year. Okay? Not that they can't be, but you hardly ever. Okay? So, if you're the Royal Bank of Canada, right, and I wanted to borrow money from you, and I am the Bank of Nova Scotia, could I borrow money in the form of a fixed deposit from you? Fixed term deposit. Fixed term. I want to borrow it for 30 days. Could I do that? You're supposed to say yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so right. So, Bank of Nova Scotia can borrow a fixed term deposit from the Royal Bank of Canada. Okay? Now, remember always that I'm simplifying this so that you get the concept, and then we can make it more elaborate. Okay? So, I agree to borrow from Royal Bank, right, for 30 days, $5 million Bahamian dollars. Right? No problem. What do I do afterwards? After the 30 days, I have to give her back $5 million Bahamian dollars plus interest, correct? Okay. Same as if I had made a fixed deposit in my personal name, right? The bank now has to pay me back principal plus interest. Everybody good? Okay. Well, if you do it between banks, right? Okay? It's the same as doing it with an individual, but they don't have half the paperwork that we have because they're banks and they agree to do it under certain conditions. Okay? Can somebody else participate and borrow that money or lend that money to Royal Bank of Canada? $5 million Bahamian dollars. Oh, let's make it $25 million. $25 million to Royal Bank of Canada for 30 days.
I guess so, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, like the Chinese.
The Chinese
Yeah,
wouldn't have
that's the
25 million. They might have some money, but not 25 million. Not to do that with. Any case, the reason, but I want to make the distinction between them and institutions. That's all. Okay. Nothing wrong with that example, but we're talking about who else could do that. What type of company can do that? Look around. Insurance,
Investment banks,
investment banks,
private banks.
private bank. What's a private bank?
Because I die in a know too.
What you said all the time.
Came a little late. Think about that. Think about the answer, right? Other financial institutions, okay? So they can effectively form a market where they can go in and buy or sell or borrow and lend, right? Fixed term deposits, okay? Now they could do that here in the Bahamas. You think you can do that in Canada or the United States? Do you think there's a market for those fixed term deposits? Okay? Banks do it all the time. All the time. Every day, even at night. Okay? Other financial institutions are involved in that market as well. So, an instrument that trades on the money market with a maturity of less than 1 year is fixed term deposit, but we call them certificates of deposits. Same thing. Okay? You call them certificates of deposits. They've been issued by another financial institution. Okay? Alright? Treasury bills. Treasury bills have a maturity of less than 1 year. What's a treasury bill? It's a debt obligation issued by a government. Right? Does the Bahamas government issue treasury bills? Yes. Oh, you were so right. Absolutely. They do. Have you ever seen in the newspaper, right, where they say issue of government registered stock?
Yeah.
You ever seen them? They call it government registered stock. Do they have some of those for over 20 years? Over 5 years? Right. They wouldn't be traded on the money market, eh? They would be traded on which market? Capital markets, because it's over 1 year. You understand? Okay? Yeah? So we can trade money on there, money markets. We can trade foreign exchange, because you can do forward contracts. Okay? We can't do common stock though. Why not? Chantel? Think in terms of what's the definition of money market instruments? Less than, right, common stocks, do they have a maturity date of less than 1 year? Do they have a maturity date? No. So they have to be on the capital market. Right? Yeah? Long-term bonds. If you issue a bond, remember bridge bonds? Anybody got any bridge bonds? Anybody know anybody got some bridge bonds who want to sell them? I'd like to buy them. If I had some money, they pay good interest. Bridge bonds, right? 20 years, 30 years. Bahamas government US dollar bonds, 20, 30 years. Right? Government of Jamaica, government of Canada, right? Water and sewage. Okay? Florida Power and Light, they issue bonds, right? Greater than 1 year. You understand? Okay? So, types of financial markets that facilitate the flow of funds. You have the capital markets and you have the money markets. Okay? Capital markets, long term. So they facilitate longer term investments. Right? If you want to buy a country, you should get the money issued in bonds and stocks. Okay? Because you need big money and you need a long time, right? That's a joke. So, you can put your name tag up, I can't remember your name. Okay? So, you want to build the Nassau International Airport. Okay? How do you raise the money? Ashley, you want to build the Nassau International Airport. You're the Minister of Finance for the Bahamas government. How are you going to raise the money? Which market you can put it in? Get it. Why?
Do more than a year.
Take more than a year to build it.
Yeah.
And how you gonna pay me back? It can take you a long time to pay it back, hey. If it take more than a year to build it, that's big money, hey. Okay. You understand? So capital markets facilitate those large, long-term projects. Okay? You don't issue bonds to go build, this building. Okay? Remember the roadworks that Hubert Ingram put in? Right? Man, I love those roadworks. I could go straight down Market Street, 2 lanes. I just gotta stop at the lights. I'm right there. Right? Now they fix a Blue Hill Road, 2 lanes coming back this way. That was nice, eh? How did he finance that?
Government bonds.
Nice try.
Eh?
Nice try. Inter-American Development Bank. He borrowed it from the Inter-American Development Bank. Okay? But it's big. But it's the government borrowing it. Because you know that wasn't no little $100, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay? So they borrowed that from a development bank, another financial institution. They borrowed it for a long time. Okay? Yeah? Okay? So you understand? Now, let's make it more pedestrian. Man, listen, all I wanna do is expand my house, right? My daughter come home with a husband and 3 children, I gotta make my house bigger, cause she ain't got no money and whatever. Okay, so I gotta expand my house, right? I go to the bank and I borrow the money, okay? If it's more than 1 year, I've effectively used it in the capital market, haven't I? If it's less than 1 year, cause I rich, no problem. If I do not borrow that money and I take it out of my pocket, did I use the money market or the capital market? I ain't take it, I ain't borrow it from the capital money market or capital market, I took it out of my pocket. Did I use that?
No.
No,
No.
I take it out of my pocket. I just took it out of my savings. So I took it out of the banks having being able to use it. Okay? So far so good? Okay. Describe the type of securities traded within financial markets. Basically you have stocks and bonds. Okay? Right. But really what it is, it's debt and equity. Now, what's debt? Debt is so straightforward, it's simple, right? I lend you the money, you pay me back. You pay me back plus interest. You pay me back on a particular time frame. Okay? Bonds are debt, right? Only they're long term. Okay? Equity is common stock, right? Now, how does a common stock work? This is my favorite part. I love common stocks. Let me show you why. Here's a common stock. There you go. Right. What does she give me in return? I ain't giving it to her right. So, what's she giving me in return? She's gonna give me money. I got the money now, and she got a piece of paper. That's it, right? Seriously, that's all you get, a piece of paper. Nowadays, you don't even get the paper. They just tell you, well, we hold in the Bahamas, securities, whatever it is, right? So I got the cash. Did she lend me that money? Did I purchase it from her? What happened? I got the money and she got a piece of paper. She made an investment. Okay, now be careful. She made an investment, right? Do I have an obligation to pay her back?
Yeah.
Common stock.
No. If she's an investor.
Let's start again. Right? Right? This is common stock. I give it to her, and she gives me the cash. I got the money, she got the paper. Did she lend me the money? No. Okay. Did she make an investment? Yes. Do I have an obligation to repay her?
No. Not in the first place.
No, because it's not a loan. Okay. But it is expected that she will get a return on her money, on her investment. Okay? So let's make it a little bit more elaborate now. Okay? How many of y'all own shares traded on BISX? Okay. Do you know of any companies traded on BISX? Name one. John, go quick, child. The Tira.
Yeah, the power things on the power.
We bought it already. Commonwealth Bank. That's where you work. Go buy some shares. If you buy some shares in Commonwealth Bank through BISX, you working for yourself, right? Because you're the owner, right? The reason I say that is because when you have shares, shares are signify partial ownership. It is it's a deed or a document that says that you own so much of a company in simplistic terms. So when I give her the shares and she gives me the money, she gets ownership in the company. Yeah? So if I bought shares in Commonwealth Bank through the local exchange here, I would have ownership. They do not, as an owner, have to pay me back my money. Right? Yeah? They don't gotta pay interest. I hope they pay dividends. I hope they do, but they don't have to do anything because we are all owners and we get the value of the company. Okay? Now remember, I am being very, very simplistic. I want you to get the concept in your head. Debt, you pay back. Shares, common stock, you do not pay back. You do not have to pay back. For you to get your money, right? When you bought common shares, what do you have to do? You have to sell them. So she would have to sell the shares to somebody else. Okay? Or the company would be willing to buy them back. If not, she just got the paper. But hopefully, she gets the dividends. So if you have shares in my good people Finco, who stop paying dividends, make me mad and make my mother mad, who now gone and bothering me, but why I put her money in Finco because they ain't paying no dividends.
That's only for now.
I want you to go tell my mother that. She's 88 and she don't take kindly to people not giving her money when she's supposed to have it. Okay? Yeah? So, I have shares in Finco. Okay? I love it when they pay dividends. I couldn't care less if they don't do anything else except pay me my dividends. I love that part.
Dividends is
Sorry?
dividends. What you get back is
Dividend is a return. It's not interest, it's a return on your investment. And they decide, the companies decide how much. Okay?
Provided they
So
make
my mother is threatening to sell her shares in Finco. If they ain't paying no dividends, I won't buy them, but I ain't got no money. I gotta go tell my, I gotta tell my wife she gotta give up her hand money, her ag money, so I can go buy the shares. But she ain't into that too much. Okay? So, whatever you got, you can get debt that has to be repaid under certain terms and conditions, correct? Car loan, mortgage loan, bonds, and all that. Or you can have equity, or you can have common stock. Okay, now you can have different kinds of debt, because you can have bonds, or you can have short-term debt, right? And you can have different types of stock. You can have preferred stock or common stock. But basically, that's it. It's debt, common stock, or preferred stock, right? So, the types of securities traded within financial markets can only be those three things. They can only be common stock, preferred stock, or debt. Now, there's any number of different types of debt, any number of different types of conditions associated with the debt. There's any number of different types of conditions associated with common and preferred stock. Okay? But it's still basically those three. So, what are the characteristics of debt? Somebody give me one characteristic of debt. You let it beat you to the punch. Chantel, way to go. It has to be repaid. That's one. What else?
You pay interest on the money borrowed. Interest
Right.
on the money borrowed.
You have to pay interest.
And you have a
Interest.
certain time frame to pay back.
Right. Okay? And you have a principal. So you have principal, you have interest, you have term, okay, and it has to be repaid. Okay? So when I borrow money from my car, principal, right, the bank tell me I gotta pay so much interest, or what the rate is, 10%, and I have how many years to pay it back? 5 years, 7 years, and I gotta pay it back every month. Okay? But I gotta pay it back. Okay? Equity or common stock is not like that. Okay? Now you understand the basic difference? Okay? Debt can be traded on money market if it's less than 1 year. Equities can't be traded on money markets because they don't have a maturity, right? Okay? So they're out there in the capital markets. Okay? Now, within a financial market, like the money market or the capital market, there are people that facilitate, or companies or institutions that facilitate the financial market. Now, let's try and explain what I mean. If I wanted to buy Commonwealth Bank, right, because I ain't got no Commonwealth Bank shares. If I wanted to buy Commonwealth Bank shares, I cannot walk up to Latira and say, send me your shares. Right? I could, but if she said that, I can't do it. It has to go over the exchange, okay, because it's a publicly traded company. Okay, now years ago you used to be able to do that. I used to call people up and say, you want to sell the shares? I did that. That's how I get my Finco shares. Yeah, I put ad in the paper, all kinds of stuff. You can't do that now. So I have to find a way to do this. It's so straightforward. I call up a broker dealer. A broker dealer in the Bahamas, name one. C-File. Royal Fidelity. Family Guardian. Family Guardian Capital Markets. Leno. Right? They're all dealers. So I would go to them and I would say, I want to purchase shares in Commonwealth Bank. And they'll say, fantastic, Mr. Fountain, show me the money. So I run over there with my check and I cut my check and I give it to them. I say, well, they say, well, how much you want to pay? I'll say, I can pay the market. And they'll say, how many you want? So much. Well, that'll be approximately $10,000 or $3,000 or whatever it is. Okay? I give them the check. Okay? What happened? What happened was that financial institution, right, is now working within the capital market, right, to facilitate a service to me, because I can't do it. You understand? Got it? Okay? So I am saying to them, hey, let's go. I want to do this. Here's my $3,000. So they now go out and they put an order out, right, where they want to buy so many Commonwealth Bank shares. Okay? When the order is executed and fulfilled, I get the shares, the money go out to whoever they sold it to, whoever they bought it from. I don't know whose shares it was. Okay? They may know, but generally speaking, they don't. Okay? What did they do? They have a role within the financial market, the capital market, where these financial instruments are traded, the Commonwealth Bank stock, right? And they facilitate that. So I am a surplus unit, am I not? Because they got extra money, right? And I went to a financial intermediary or financial institution, right, who was a financial intermediary, and they facilitated my movement through the capital market to purchase those stocks. Got it? Okay? Now, if I could do it, you could do it. All we need is some money. Now, we ain't gonna rob nobody, we ain't gonna thief nothing, right? But if I could do it, you could do it, right? All you got to do is show up with the money. You have to be that surplus unit, okay? Yeah? Now, that is an example, right, of a financial institution, right, that has a role within the financial market. Now let's try and use another example. Okay, Arawak Port Development. They were the last initial public offering done in the Bahamas, the last one. Okay, anybody buy any shares?
I didn't get that one.
You all ain't surplus units?
The
The two only hold a head down.
Commonwealth Brewery ones.
You bought Commonwealth Brewery? Way to go. How'd you do it?
Take the money from that account.
That's good.
Pay for them.
And you paid for them. Who'd you buy them through?
I have to go fully on.
Another financial institution. Did you get the shares?
I have a little piece of paper that says I have this amount of shares. That's it.
That's it. But the money gone, ain't
With the
it?
money gone.
Did you get any dividends?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, so that's nice. Okay. So she got the dividends and she went through Colina, another financial institution. Okay?
They did the presentation for Commonwealth Brewery.
Sorry?
They did it for
Okay.
Commonwealth Brewery.
Okay. Now, if you wanted to sell those shares, what would you do? You really don't know.
Go back to redeem and go to the company and
Redeem them? You don't redeem shares?
You can redeem it.
No.
I'll have to sell
You
it.
redeem
They
bonds,
go
but
back
not
to
shares.
about- I'll go back to them.
Go back to who then?
The president.
Well, financial.
You go to a financial institution that can give you access to the capital market. So that could be Colina,
Or it could be any.
that could be Royal Fidelity, that could be Leno, That could be Farm Guard Capital Markets. You understand? You don't have to go to Colina.
No, I'm going to the right though.
There you go.
She don't have to go back to the person that she bought the
No, I don't.
shares with. Oh, okay.
No,
No. No.
No.
Okay. Now, if she goes and does that, if DeAndre goes and sells her shares, is she acting as a surplus unit or a deficit unit? Deficit unit. Okay, so it's just the other side of the equation, right? Other side of the coin. You see? But she's going to a financial institution that has access to financial markets. Okay? So that role that they play, again, is that intermediary role. Okay? They're still in the middle. They're right in the middle. Okay? Within the financial markets, they are still in the middle. They are doing that financial intermediary role. Okay? Everybody good so far?
Yeah.
You sure? Ask questions. This is a hard course because by 8:30 all of us falling asleep. And after we done had a hard day work, oh Lord. Maybe we should all bake some cookies so we can get that sugar boost and keep us going. Ain't good for you. Okay? Okay. So, after all my little descriptions, here we go. A market in which financial assets, securities such as stocks and bonds can be bought and sold. We agree? That's what we talked about just now. Okay? A system that consists of individuals and institutions, instruments and procedures that bring together borrowers and savers, investors and institutions in need of capital or money. So in other words, a financial market, right, is a market, just like if you go to Potterski, right, to the exchange. The farmers send their stuff to the market, you go to the exchange, and you buy it. Okay, right? With financial assets, securities, such as stocks and bonds can be bought and sold. Now we talked about that. A system. Now, you can't just go willy-nilly, hey, okay, because we want to know that we're dealing with someone who's reputable and knowing to run away to Brazil or Venezuela, like the spiral taking money around Venezuela, right? So we don't want that. And we also want to know that it's all legitimate, because we ain't want to catch up with no money laundering, right? And we ain't want to go deal with no drug boys, right? We want to know that everything is above board, and we want to know that the central bank or whoever the regulators are there are working. And if something happened, I could go to somebody and say, they thieved my money. Okay? So, a system that consists of individuals, DeAndre, who bought her Commonwealth Brewery shares, and institutions, she dealt with Commonwealth Brewery, and she dealt with Colina. Instruments and procedures, the instrument was the shares. Procedures, there was a particular way you had to go and do it, that bring together borrowers and savers, that bring together her in the first instance as a surplus unit, which would be the saver, right? Okay, and the other person who was selling them, the borrower or the deficit unit. Okay? And investors and institutions in need of capital. So if we take out the personal side and say it's an organization, it would be there. Okay? Do we have this in the Bahamas? Absolutely. Right? We have BISAX. Okay? And all of us can purchase it in BISAX. You do not need to have a bunch of money. You just have to have a little bit of courage and a little surplus. Right? If you think it's a good investment, do it. If you don't do it. Okay? Everybody good? Okay, so all I did was I gave you a bunch of stuff at the beginning, the previous slide, telling you about the different markets, and now I've given you some definitions that you can use that talks about the financial markets. Okay? Now you sure you understand what I say? When I say financial market, this is what we're talking about. Okay? So when you use the term financial market, don't come and tell me it's something else. You know, like, what's the private bank again? What's a private bank? Davina is checking on it for you, right? Okay? Financial markets facilitate the flow of funds and thereby allow financing and investments by individual business and governments. Governments issue government registered stock. They give me the paper, right? They get the money. Okay? Businesses, right? Borrow from banks, bonds, stocks, right? We get the paper, they get the money. Okay? Individuals, I want to buy a car, I borrow the money from the bank, I get my car. Okay? Yeah. Individuals and institutions have different income streams. Now we all know that, you know, because everybody know their bosses make more money than us, right? That's a fact. I hated that idea, but it was true. Okay? And different consumption time frames. Now everybody know that. If you have children, you know exactly what it is. When your baby, 1 month, 2 months, and it's Pampers and stuff, that ain't nothing. Wait till they hit 4 or 5. Wait till they hit 15, 16, right? Then it's school, fees, all the rest of that. Then you need a bigger car because there's more than one, and all the rest of that. Different time frames, okay? You have different cash inflows and we have different cash outflows, different expenditures. Does that make sense? Okay? My own, because I'm retired, is going to be different from Ashley's, who is working. Okay? I am 62. My children are all grown. Right? I finished with college. I ain't sending them another dime. They better send me some money. I tell them that before. Ain't happened yet, but I'm working on it. Okay? Different time frame. Y'all laugh. But I had them for. But I helped make them for. They gotta take care of me now. You have any children to be now?
Yes, I do.
How old are
Give
they?
them all good education.
9,
Yeah.
15, and 21.
I gave them a very good education. They both got their master's degree out of my pocket.
See?
Capital markets permit smoothing of consumption. Remember when we talked about the mortgages? You bought the house or built the house, you needed the house then, there, and so forth, but you ain't had the money. So you borrowed the money and it allowed you to what? Pay out that money month by month while you got your house. Okay? Alright? Okay? Therefore, it's no longer necessary to match your consumption to the cash flow. Now, we've all done this, right? You want to buy something real bad, but you just ain't got the money. It ain't $5,000. It's maybe only like $500, and you don't want to borrow that money. So what do? You save it up, and you go and buy it. So if you have capital and money markets, you don't have to do that. And you say for $500. Think quick. Money market less than 1 year, right? Okay. Do you have a credit card in your wallet? How long do you have to pay it off?
30 days.
Mm-mm. You can take the credit on a credit card and it'll go for approximately 1 year. Sometimes it even goes for 14 months. If you take the credit, if you charge something for $500 on your credit card, do you have to pay it all off at the end of the month?
No.
Okay. How long do you have to pay off that $500? Usually 1 year. Sometimes a little less, sometimes a little longer. Right? Has that helped you to smooth out? Right? You don't have to match your consumption to your cash flow. You didn't have to save the money to go and do it. You could buy it now. And you just buy some on Amazon. Right? And you use your
Own money.
your own money. I buy some on Amazon. I use my credit card. Love it. And they ain't getting a First Caribbean. They ain't getting a penny from me. I can pay that off soon as that come in. I straight. It's my money, right? Okay. But the credit card allowed me to buy it today and pay for it later. Without that credit card, I couldn't do it. I'd have to save up the money, or go borrow the money from the bank. Do you understand? So, the role of the financial markets, it allows the transfer of funds from surplus units to deficit units. Okay? Make sense? Surplus units, participants that receive more than they spend, participants that spend more than they receive. We are always somewhere in there. We are not fixed one way or the other. Right? We talked about the surplus units and so forth. Okay? Now, we all know this stuff. All I'm doing is putting it in a more theoretical framework. Right? So when you read your chapter, you will see this stuff. And it'll make sense to you. Okay? What time is it? We ain't asking him the time no more. Okay, so the role of the financial markets, business finance needs, investment needs, right? I want to expand my business. I have a used car business, I want to expand it, I want another 6 or 7 cars. Yeah? I can get that money from the financial markets, right? If it's big enough, I can go into the money market or the capital markets because they want bigger money. If not, I could just go to the bank and borrow. Okay? Investment needs. Okay? Commonwealth Brewery, right, needed to raise that money to do something. You agreed with what they was using it because you read the prospectus cover to cover. You ain't read that prospectus at all.
I read some of it.
You didn't read that. I read this prospectus cover to cover.
I read some of it.
Okay. And which part did you read?
I don't remember, it's been so long, but I read some of it. The key part, like some of the key part, I don't remember, to
Okay.
be honest.
But
But I
what
did
could
read
what
some
could
of it.
what could be the key part? Now I want you all to think about this, right? Commonwealth Brewery initial public offering, IPO, initial public offering. What would be the key parts? They telling you a story.
Yeah. But
They
me-
telling you a story.
They
They ain't
are.
telling you nothing about. They telling you, oh, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do this. The market is so much. Da 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 da.
Yeah, they
They're talking about the future.
Yeah.
That's a story, right?
The main thing that I read was the cost.
All you did was like 90% of everybody else. I could buy them, that's only $5 or $7, whatever it was a share. Man, I only got some. I could buy them. Let me go do this, man. It ain't nothing to it. But why don't you?
At the point, they only sold them. You could have only buy a certain.
Why
amount.
don't you buy more now?
I'm going to.
If you believe in them, and you, y'all should all buy stocks in the company that you work for. I mean, it may not be that easy, but you should do it. You're working hard for them. They're making money off of your back. When First Caribbean shares came out, lickety split, brother. I was there. I worked like a dog for them. I make plenty money for them. Okay? So your investment needs can also be done here. You understand? Okay? Yeah. We talked about the primary market. That's why that's blank. Okay? What's the primary market? We can do this one. Next class, right? Okay. Don't hide, Ashley. Oh no, she wasn't here.
No, that's not.
You should have been here. Class start 6 o'clock. That's okay. You come when you come. DeAndre. Capital market. What should I put there? Or the primary market. What should I? Sorry, that's primary market. The primary market. That's my error. Sorry about that. I thought that's a capital market. The primary market is like a launch pad. Okay, where companies who want to raise capital, i.e., cash, issue shares, and other securities, right, to the public for the first time. So when you bought your Commonwealth Brewery shares, you bought them on the primary market because that was the first time they were available. If you were to try and buy them today, would you be buying them on the primary market?
No.
You'd be buying them on the secondary market. Okay? So company makes the following decisions when they have a prime to issue stuff in the primary market. Soon finish. The pain can end soon. You're gonna be able to go home and get a good sleep. You're gonna be good. Company makes following decisions initially. How much money do they need? They can't just come out and say, I want as much as I can get, eh? Okay? What type of securities do they want to issue? Do they want to issue debt, equity, or preferred? Equity is common. Remember we said there were three types of securities, right? Okay? And then they got to select investment banker. Now, anybody who want to make plenty money, make sure you do this. Serious money. You get a percentage of the value of the offer. Nice, eh? 25 million, and you get 0.5%. I like that stuff.
I'll come take care of you.
Please become an investment banker. I need someone, okay? So you have to pick these three things. Straightforward. Name an investment banker, Polina. Leno, Vanguard Capital Markets, Royal Fidelity. They're also broker dealers, right? The secondary market, everybody knows that. Well, maybe not. After shares have been issued, okay, through the primary market, the shares can now be sold to other investors in the market. This selling to other investors happens in the secondary market. So if I wanted to sell my Finco shares, I'm selling them in the secondary market, right? If my mother tell me once more time to go sell her shares,
You can give that check.
I can't afford it, but I wish I could. Okay? Right? But it's the secondary market. Now, there is a reason for these definitions. Money market, capital market, primary market, secondary market. Okay? Because the terms and conditions and how those markets work is different. Okay? It's different. The requirements for the primary market are not necessarily the same as the requirements for the secondary market. Okay? You can issue shares in a private placement in the primary market, and they never are issued to the public. So they never come into the secondary market through BISX. But you could buy and sell them amongst the people that have them. You understand? Okay? So you need to know these definitions. I'm trying real hard to finish so you all will go. Then the company is eligible for listing on a securities exchange. Okay? After the primary market, then they can go on to the secondary market. Then they can be listed on BISX. Okay? Am I there yet? We're talking about those. Okay? So you can get all these notes, right? You all are happy, right? Yeah. Okay. Less than 1 year, more than 1 year. We gave you examples of these, right? We got examples of those. Yeah? That's where we stop. Time to go home. What time is it, DeAndre? Oh, we can keep going. Let's go. 5 more minutes. Okay, before we go, we have someone, Davina, who didn't tell us anything about herself.
You know, I have 3 kids.
Congratulations. That's really good.
I'm doing it up. I don't know anyone in this class. I haven't taken any formal classes with anyone. I work in banking at Delta. Let's go there.
What do you do at Delta?
I work in the client services department.
What does client services department do?
I work with payments, all the instructions that we receive from our clients.
So these are SWIFT payments?
SWIFT, it could be cash, it could be
Cash payments?
it could be
How could you have
checks.
a cash payment? Oh,
Not
check.
payments, I mean cash instruction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Checks.
SWIFT, wire transfers,
Wire
checks,
transfers.
cash transactions.
Mhm.
Great. How long have you been there?
December will make 3 years.
Oh. And were you in banking before?
Yes. I've been in banking over 20 years.
Wow, where'd you work?
Capital investments, they've since closed down. The Title Bank closed down. BSI just closed down, and now we're down tech.
Hope they don't close down.
I hope not.
But they just like
A lot of people are counting on them.
Yeah, they have been growing. There have been a lot of ads
Yeah,
for
we have
them
a
and
lot
so
of
forth.
employees now.
Okay, great.
Hence,
Okay.
I got to work late.
We got the
I
class late.
got to class late. Sorry,
Long day.
That's-
long day.
That's entirely up to you. I can't do anything about it. Okay,
Yeah.
right. Chapter 1, you have the readings. I'll send you the notes. Okay? Alright? Classes are long. I know you get tired and so forth. Right? So, but remember, this is what you all want to do. This is what you want to do. If this is what you want to do, unfortunately, you gotta put the time in. Okay? And you ain't gonna pass this course unless you put the time in. Not because it's a hard course. It's just that if you don't do the work, you can't get through. And that's not a threat or anything like that. I just want you all to understand that you have to put some effort into it. Okay? That's all. Thank you so much. See you all on
Thank you.
Thursday.
Thank you. See you next week.
Okay? Okay, good night.
You put it away.
Only ever reading material on the bottom of the banking finance mortgage. I think I found someplace that actually allows you to rent the book online, the main textbook. I might just do that and take some screenshots and save it.
You mean at that branch?
Makes sense to me.
The book, that book online is like $127 that edition.
Why buy it new? Buy it used.
The used didn't seem that much cheaper than what I saw.
If you say so.
At least on Amazon, at the little quick glance I did.
This is a very old book.
The quick glance I did, let me see what the used one is again.
Georgette.
Oh, she is like an operations, not an
So,
actual
let me see if I get this
branch.
right. You all had a long day, but you all still have time to sit here and chat?
She was a manager there, but not the
Oh, okay.
branch
Oh,
manager.
okay.
How much?
She was
No.
like with
I probably was
services.
looking at, I think I was really looking at the viewers and the uses significantly.
And what's your name?
I would think so.
Yeah, I saw used for like $14.
How you talking?
No, man, I could do it.
I was mad at y'all.
Don't be mad, right?
Is Felicia Forbes still in Howard Road?
Yeah.
Sorry, she's back in Howard Road branch?
She back out. But I think she on vacation now.
I have to get rid of some of these books.
You know, even if you want to have a chat with me about something.
Sure. You can share the digestive cookies with all the rest of us?
I'm definitely ready with my laptop next time.
Sorry?
Definitely ready with my laptop
Now,
next time.
Why?
what's your number? I don't like stand in line.
Oh boy.
I type almost every day.
Don't rely on the notes. The notes help you,
Which section you work?
but if you don't take notes yourself, like, it is hard because I've noticed I talk a lot.
We have
Right.
some clients.
So you get the notes, but the notes
They
are
all
just for
request
me to
cash
remember
requests
what
the
I'm
same thing,
talking
but
about
no,
and
it's
keep
a
some
24
order.
hour notice for the USD and for the other phone.
And if you rely on the
Let me
notes,
just see.
It's not a week.
I probably did make
remember they my notes, that's why,
Facilitate a lot of
and
foreign
seriously, you don't have to
clients,
type, you
and
don't have to
so
write, you can
they
type,
come in
that's
there all the
fine.
time, they would
But taking
Right.
screen pictures and stuff,
Right.
it's not a good idea,
And
not
so
the
it's-
class.
So I
Be
need a
It really
favor.
doesn't.
clients come in
That's serious, I'm not
and make
trying
an
to
order for what you want.
anything.
Right.
And
I
like
don't-
People say, oh, but then,
I don't have any more friends.
You don't have a
This is
photograph
what
memory.
you see? One time I
Right,
had
you
to
need
call,
muscle memory. The more you write,
calling around
so forth, the more you understand it. Now, if you don't write and you type, same thing.
My penmanship is horrible, and I write significantly slow down, I think.
That's fine.
So I like to type. The last class I did, I typed. I did an accounting class, and I typed everything, even the charts. I managed to hurry up, draw down, and
I got no problems. I just want you to understand that, okay?
enjoying pre-reading.
Hold on.
Why we have the best call?
No, I called.
Right, 4.5.
No, what happened is Royal Bank will only lend a certain amount, like 12,000, and for unsecured.
Oh, you wanted it for it to be unsecured, yeah.
Right.
So that's
I didn't want a brand new.
Car.
I didn't want a brand new vehicle.
Okay.
No, because I already had one, and that's a bad investment.